couple other Italian names, Lasavio and Vaccaro.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about
Speaking,
those.
speaking of, we had one
Yeah, we had a Vaccaro on
on our
earlier.
live just a while ago.
Exactly.
So yeah, so
And then, as we move through, like I said, we graduated in the 80s. And one of the big blows to the town was the closure of the high school.
oh yeah, I wanted to talk about
Yeah,
that too.
because, back up until 89, almost every town had their own high school.
Yeah,
High
and
school,
elementary school.
yes. Some of them were together, like Plocherville's was all
Yeah.
together.
Right.
And
Bourlonville too.
yeah, under a desegregation lawsuit, a bunch of high schools got closed and consolidated.
And that was pretty much the destruction of our town, honestly,
And,
I think.
yeah, and you can trace the downfall of it. Not downfall, but decline.
Right.
People weren't staying in town anymore.
Well, they
know?
couldn't. Like when we were growing up, it was very rare that both the parents worked.
Yeah.
Usually the dad worked, the mom stayed home, took care of the kids. Now in my case, my mom always worked, but she was well, when I was younger, she worked like at Couvillon's, right here. What was it? The
Mr.
Western
Lloyd,
Auto.
Western Auto, yeah.
And my dad had, when he took over the fish market, then my mom went to work for him at the fish market. And but they were here in town. So if we needed anything, we just go to my daddy's fish market.
Yeah.
Now when my kids were growing up, because I graduated in 85, the school closed in 88, was the last year that it was open here. Well, then now all of a sudden you have these children having to travel, what is Moorville, like 10, 12
Yeah,
miles from
right.
here, versus we used to walk to school. Like I lived down the road down there, we'd catch the levee, walk to school. When I was in high school, if you missed the bus, you just walked to school. Well,
Well, and that high school became, people had different religions, different churches.
Right.
But everybody went to the same school.
yes,
So everything happened at the school.
At school.
Town-wide.
and the extracurricular activities.
That's
like if
another
I
one.
wanted to be in beta, science club, cheerleader, it didn't off-put my parents because they didn't have to stop what they were doing or leave their work to bring me to practices or anything. I would just get on my bike and go, shoot, I'd ride my bike all the way to Hamburg to
Yeah.
go to cheerleader practice at my friend Stacy's
Right.
house. And come home at night riding my bike. It was like 8 miles, but it wasn't there was not the danger there is now.
And that'll be a whole nother episode, by the way, the school.
Right. And if
The school itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a whole nother podcast.
And if if it got too late, then one of my friend's mom would be like, throw your bike in the back of my truck, I'll go bring you home.
Right.
But when they consolidated the schools, all of a sudden at that point now, like it was very rare to have a vehicle when we were in high school.
That's true. Yeah,
Only a few
yeah.
people had a vehicle, and usually the one that had a vehicle was in charge of transporting everybody everywhere
Right.
to all the different functions, So when they consolidated the school and moved the kids out, well, all of a sudden now two parents had to work because now you had to, when your child went to high school, you had to get them a vehicle to be able to go if they wanted to participate in extracurricular activities because, the parents were working. They couldn't, I know I wasn't available to transport my kids back and forth to school to practices or, softball practices, football practices, because I had to work. I was a single mom, which made it even worse, and that happened a lot too with the single parents. If my kids missed the bus and I was at work, well, they just had to miss school. Well, then their grades started deteriorating. They went from being A honor roll students here when they were going to Riverside and we were living here to, having less than good grades because there was nobody to bring them to school if they missed the bus.
And what it mainly did was...
It took away the football programs.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. You think about your high school years, your elementary years is when you're learning how to read and write and, that kind of stuff. But your high school years
Hey, Shauna.
is where you form bonds.
Right.
So you form bonds not only with the people you're in school with, but also where you go to school.
Right.
So you took the school away, so the bonds that we had towards
Right.
SimSport are not there anymore now. So what that did was, Anita, is where before people would live in Simsport and willing to work away because
Yes.
Simsport's such a nice town. Now they don't have that bond anymore. So as soon as they graduate, they
They
move away
gone. Yeah.
because they go where the work is.
And getting back to that, like I see Shauna
Oh, hey,
Terrio
Sean.
is commenting on our live. She said, "I love y'all so much. Hi, Shauna and Miss Linda. This is our life. So glad y'all are doing this." So yes, that's what we're trying to bring awareness to our life here in Simsport, and what it was like growing up. I mean, like you said, when we were in school, Shauna is a perfect example. Her sister and I graduated together, but her and her brothers are like my sister and brother. We all grew up as brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And we've kept these lifelong bonds. Like we've been out of school since the 80s, but yet we're still here for each other. My kids don't have that. They do not have that kind of bond
Yeah.
with anybody that they grew up with, unless it's a cousin or someone. And even that, like we had bonds with our cousins. We grew up with our cousins like they were our brothers and sisters. Our kids couldn't do that because, like you said, once they got to high school, everybody started going their own separate ways, going to different schools. They weren't going to school from kindergarten until they graduated
Yeah.
together. And so they made other friends. But then when they graduated, everybody just dispersed across the world. And so they don't have what we had.
And what I found is, and other people might agree or disagree, but for some reason, grandmas tend to be the center of focus.
Right.
Like everybody comes in to see the grandma and the mama.
Right.
Once they pass away,
There's
now
no reason to
nobody's
come back.
coming back.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to Simsport and a lot of other little towns.
Right.
And it just lost what it once was.
Right.
In that regard. But yeah, it was a unique place to grow up. Like I said, we had so much fun over here.
I mean, it had its faults. I'm not going to say it was the perfect place to grow up, but honestly,
But we didn't know back then that
right,
it had faults.
when I mean, we had a skating rink.
Yeah.
We were high class because we
Hot
had a
dog.
skating rink. No other town in Falls Parish had a skating rink.
We had a
People would come.
creamery.
They would come from across the
Yeah.
river, to the dairy. What was it called?
The King Drive-In,
The
yeah.
King Drive-In.
Right.
And so like we were a hopping little town when we were growing up.
And
We had
I would tell people, I could, on a Saturday morning, I could walk 3 blocks and eat 5 times because I had relatives all up and down the street. You
right.
could just stop and, of course, you had to
Right.
eat, my baby.
Yeah, oh yeah, because that's another thing about
Yeah.
our Cajun culture is like if you go visit, they're gonna make you eat something.
Oh yeah.
Or they're gonna ask you 1,000 times, "You hungry? You want something to eat? I didn't cook today, but I got a little something I can heat up for you." And you're never gonna leave empty-handed.
My grandma cooked a pot of rice every day.
I guarantee.
Whether she ate rice or not, she cooked a little pot of rice
Just
every
in case.
day.
That's
Yeah.
the 2 things in Cajun culture that you have to have when you're cooking. Well, you don't have to have, but the first thing when you're thinking of something to cook is I gotta cook some rice. Then you figure out what's gonna go with it, and if it's cool enough, make a roux.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you figure out what you're gonna cook with it
Exactly.
after that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then cast of characters.
Oh
I mean,
my God.
stories, and we'll get into those later on, but because I think we're running a little bit long here.
Oh
but
yeah. Wait, we will all be family forever, Shauna said. And Miss Linda said, cooking in the big pot. Oh yeah, when you saw that big black pot come out, or a gumbo pot.
Yeah.
You have your Magnolite, your cast iron, and then your gumbo or crawfish pot or whatever. You
we
knew
were
it was.
talking about the other day.
Right.
Some salt meat.
Oh yeah. Yup.
The salt meat is salted pork.
Yeah.
It was actually, well, I guess you call it what, brined?
Yeah.
Brine. They soaked it in brine
yeah.
for so long. And it was usually a pork steak that
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like
and
a
I
pork
think
steak.
you boil it with potatoes and boil the salt out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll never forget.
You had to boil it before you put it in your beans, or whoop, they'd be salty.
Yeah, it would be really salty. And I'll never forget, we didn't wear, during the summer, we didn't wear shoes.
No,
We
man,
had
no.
hobbit feet, and you didn't even know it because.
You could cut sparks on the asphalt.
Oh, yeah,
Your feet
and then
would be
your
so
feet would be
tough.
full of tar and all that kind of stuff. So I never forget, I was riding my bicycle to my grandmother's house, Mami, we called it, and my foot slipped off the pedal, and I knocked the skin off my big toe. And it hurt, and I had a big flap of skin. She let me see
Put
what
some
you
salt
got.
meat
She
or bacon.
tied some salt meat to my toe with a little rag and said, leave that on all day. So I did. So about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Daddy got back home, and I had this black piece of cloth full of blowflies. And my dad says, "What the hell do you have on your feet?" "Well, Mommy, put some salt meat." And of course, he took his pocket knife and cut that off and get out of here with that. Yeah.
But that's another thing that we're going to touch on sometime during this podcast is how our Cajun healing, the
And the
like
traitors
yeah, our the Cajun traitors that when we were growing up, I mean we had Dr. Barrett on or Dr.
yeah.
Plochet,
Dr. Plochet, yeah.
but and then Dr. Goche for I think when I was in high school he came
Well,
to
Dr.
town.
Barrett took Dr. Plochet's place.
Yeah, and Dr.
And then
Goche
Dr. Goche came for a
came
while.
for a while, but I don't remember going to a doctor
Some shades.
when I was when I was growing up, because if we got hurt any kind of way or was sick, we had to go to a great aunt, a great grandma, or somebody would treat us for everything from warts to pneumonia, you know. So we'll talk about that in future episodes as well, about our culture and you know our way of life growing up here in Simsport. Like I honestly can say I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything, because you know I've made lifelong friends here, and it doesn't matter how far. Some of my friends that I graduated with I didn't talk to for 30 years, and we reunited in 2018, and it was like not a day had passed.
Yeah, well, you don't
with
realize
us.
how special it was until you look it in the rearview mirror now.
Right.
And you've gotten out, you've seen other places and met other people from different states or whatnot, and you look back and you say, wow.
People
you know?
are still astonished at the friendships that we have here. You know, I look at my mom, I look at my cousins, and you know, people like in Plocherville and stuff. Like my mom, she doesn't have friends like I have. Like all my friends that I graduated with, like I could call them day or night if something's happening. Let them find out that somebody's having a bad day, and I promise you they're gonna all be calling me, messaging me on Facebook, what's wrong? And I love that fact that I know, even though I'm not the type of person to bother anybody, that there's gonna be somebody there for me if I need.
Yeah, there's always a comfort in that. I mean,
Right,
it's
there's
like,
a comfort in knowing
Yeah.
that I have this tribe of people, and some of them, I promise you, when my friend Sheila got sick, Shauna's sister, I decided to do a benefit for her here in Simsport. I called Renee. Within 30 minutes, I had already compiled a list, a place to hold the benefit, somebody to cook for the benefit, some stuff for a raffle. I started in February. By May 1st, when we actually had the benefit, so many people had volunteered, had donated, and it was all people that we had gone to school with,
Yeah.
that had lived. Even though Sheila hadn't lived here in 30 years, she was married, had kids, living in LeBeau, but because they knew her growing up and knew me, I was living in New Orleans, and
I
they
was gonna
knew
say,
me.
most of the people who volunteered hadn't lived here in 30-something years.
Right.
Yeah.
And the people that people came from all over. Shannon flew in from New York,
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. People came from all over the country to help with this benefit. And that's the one most wonderful thing that we can say about growing up here in Simsport.
Yep. Yeah.
Is you know that when times get tough and you get in a bind, you can always call somebody that's from here or that still lives here, and you're going to get some sort of help.
And we're going to take a more detailed look at the history of Simsport, going back to Native people
Yeah.
that were here in future episodes and stuff. That's some of the things we want to get
Yeah,
into.
how the river got its name.
Yeah, the Chafalaya and the influence that the Avoyelles parish is a Native American name
Yep.
for the group of Indians, Native American people who are here. So, yeah, we're going to go into that. And
Yeah, yeah, Eve, this is our first one. We went live today while we're recording. I'm going live on Facebook so that people can kind of get an idea of how we going about doing this podcast. So you didn't miss anything. This is the first one, and as soon as we get this edited and posted on YouTube, I'll be posting on this Facebook page that you know, our links to our YouTube, our merchandise, our Mela production merchandise that we have on Zazzle and stuff. So yeah, y'all didn't miss anything. Y'all actually part of our first podcast.
She missed me spill my water.
Yeah, you missed. The only thing you missed was Renee's Mela moment of the day when he spilled his water when we were getting started.
Yeah, well, that's the worst that happens. We'll be all right.
Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah. Man, yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to wrap up this episode?
Yep. Well, I'm not even going to say which episode this is because we spoke so much. We're probably going to chop it up into 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Good. I'll let you know whenever we're going live again. Love y'all. Thank y'all for watching.
Eat some salt meat.
Yeah. And let us know if you have some man law moments. We need to know what your man law moment, the day of the week,
That's
and
right.
we'll highlight it. Oh, you said send the link for merch. Okay, I'll send you the link
Yeah.
for the
And
merchandise.
if you don't know what a Mela moment is, watch episode 1.
Yeah. If you don't know, you'll see a man law
Yeah, if you're
moment.
from Nevada or something like that, watch episode 1.
Our man law moment.
And then you can practice in the mirror saying, cool.
Yeah. Oh, man. God, they don't.
I'm mad.
Law mad.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, this wraps up this episode. I don't know which episode it'll be. It's supposed to be our second, but we kind of went over a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, as Cajuns, we just tend to ramble on and we get sidetracked and go down a rabbit hole of things. But that's what this podcast is about.
That's right.
It's to show the world who we truly are as Cajun people growing up in this little town in Simsport.
Yep.
So y'all have a good day. And let us know about your Mela moments.
Mela.
Mela.